Alright guys, so today we're out here in the Hayward area. You know, we're doing some walleye fishing. We're on a pretty good bite and we wanted to showcase something different. And it's tough to film a video on the one thing that probably catches more fish than anything else, and that's boat control. So as I'm cruising around here, you know, I'm looking for a lot of these kind of mid-depth rock humps. And I'm looking for a couple of things. One is good rock, and the second one is actual fish. If I see fish, great. You know, I'm gonna start and basically fish for those fish. But for right now, basically what we're looking for is you know, a stack of walleyes on this rock hump. As you can see me cruise into it here, I just popped up on top of it, and it looks like pretty good rock. Now this is obviously the first step to boat control, is figuring out where you're gonna fish, where are the fish, all that kind of good stuff. So I'm gonna cruise around a couple times over this spot. You know, the top of it's like 15, 18 feet or so. And I'm looking for fish. And you can kind of see, you know, I'm kind of coming off the edge right now. And I'm gonna circle back and kind of come right around the top again. Now on a spot this size, it'll take a couple of passes over to just kind of see, you know, what's up here as far as fish goes. I'm not gonna see a whole lot on side imaging in this real thick rock, right where I think the fish are gonna be, which is probably right on top of this hump, right? So we're back on the top of it now. This is kind of where we likely would see some fish. And you can see I got a cluster of fish right on top of this hump. You can see them right here on sonar. I'll flip over to down imaging here, and you're gonna see that's a little cluster of walleyes right here off the tip of this little rock. It's not a lot of fish, but it's definitely some fish there. Now how do you go back and set up on those fish, right? That's the big question. So I'm gonna go to my full screen down imaging on this shot, if I can scroll through it here. So here I got full screen down imaging. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scroll over to those fish, and I'll zoom in on them so you guys can see them a little bit better on camera. There, you can see those flakes just above that rock right there. Now I'm gonna drop a waypoint basically right on those fish, right? Mark, select waypoint, yes. All right, so now I go back to my chart, and I'm gonna have a waypoint that pops up right where I saw those fish. So now I know where the fish are, I got a waypoint dropped on them, right? The next step is basically, you know, how am I gonna set up to fish these fish? Well, a super effective way we're catching a ton of fish on right now is with slip bobbers. Now I don't want to slip bobber downwind of those fish, because obviously that's not gonna work that well. I'm gonna be spot locked, I'm gonna be casting up, and the bobbers are gonna be coming back into me, which is never what you wanna do. You basically always wanna spot lock upwind of where those fish are. So a great way to do this, and I'll try to flip over to like a full screen chart here, or something like that, so you guys can get a better idea of basically how we're doing this, right? You toggle through all the options. All right, so now we got full screen chart. This waypoint right here is the one I just dropped on the fish. So I got a wind out of the south, so I'm gonna set up and I'm gonna drive directly through that waypoint, directly into the wind, right? So that I'm perfectly lined up when I do spot lock, that the back of the boat's gonna be straight at the fish, right? So here I'm cruising up, and I'm gonna intersect that waypoint going straight into the wind. My bow is facing perfectly into the wind right now. And I'm not necessarily gonna look for those fish this time through, because I kinda know they're probably already there. I wanna scroll into basically my 20 or my 50-foot scale on my Humminbird, so I got a better idea how far away I am for those fish. And when my boat gets about one of those 20-foot scales away, my scale is right here in the side here, I'm gonna spot lock down. I might let it go a little bit farther than 20 on this one, because there might be some good stuff just before that. So right about there is where I wanna spot lock down. So all right, now we just found those fish on sonar, verified they were fish with down imaging, came back directly downwind, cruised right over the top of them. Now my boat is directly upwind of those fish, about 30 feet, and this gives us a perfect angle, either whether we're casting jigs, jigging wraps, any kind of plastics, or in this case slip bobbers back to those fish. So now we're gonna set up on them, cast some baits back, and hopefully catch some walleyes. All right, go for it.
Hooked up.
Fish on. So there it is, guys. You know, we drove over those fish a couple times. We made sure they were straight back. You know, pitched a couple bobbers straight back, and one that was just kind of right off the corner here went down. You know, super simple to do. I'd say the biggest problem most guys have, you know, with just consistently getting on fish is their boat presence. And boat presence is a huge thing. You know, anytime you're fishing, really no matter what you're fishing for. But when you can see fish, visualize what piece of structure you're on and visualize where those fish are, and then spot lock above them. It really should be that easy, especially you can mark them on sonar like that. All right, guys, so we just caught that nice fish off the top of that hump. We didn't even cast out. We're just gonna basically show you another way to set up on the same piece of structure, but with side imaging this time, right? So let's say you didn't see those fish, you're just cruising around looking for some of the best rock, right? Basically, I always wanna start with that side imaging, 50, 75 feet, somewhere in there, but I always wanna start, cruising around at a slow speed up on top of this so I get a better readout. You always wanna match your scroll speed of your side imaging and sonar to your basically your fish finding speed, I'll call it, your trolling speed. So basically I set mine at like 3 miles an hour roughly, because that's mainly the speed I'm going when I'm looking for fish, right? So I'm cruising around, I got my side imaging on. You can just see I came into a whole bunch of rock, right? Rock pretty much solid off my right side, 50 feet. I kind of got the edge of this rock bar, or this top of this hump, off my left side, and you can see where that rock ends, kind of right out in this zone right here. I'm not picking up a whole lot of rock farther to my left. So basically what I want to do now is you can see where the most character is on this spot, right? So we're gonna say like, okay, let me scroll over to my correct page here. So now you can see right over here where my cursor is pretty good rock. So I'm gonna go mark. I'm gonna mark that out. Now I know where that is. That's kind of the edge of the south side of this bar where the rock is laid out. Right over here looks pretty good. I got some bigger shadows coming off these rocks. So I'm gonna go mark, create that waypoint. Now if I go over to my chart, I'm gonna have those 2 waypoints basically laid out right where, let me scroll over the correct page here, so take a second. So now I got these 2 waypoints laid out. One is right here, and one is right here, of basically how that rock bar lays out, where I think the most character is, right? Now you would do the same thing. You get back up on the windiest side of it, so I can fish backwards. It's easier to do everything if you're facing with the wind. Your line's not getting bowed out. It's easier to let slip bobber sit, stuff like that. So now I do the same thing. I get right up to basically the edge of that rock bar, or just outside of it, which is where that first waypoint I selected was, or laid down was, because I know that's right where the edge of that good rock is. So I'm gonna go just upwind of where that good rock is, and you'll see it here on the GoPro film here, as I'm filming on the GoPro. I'm gonna get just upwind of that first waypoint. So I'll scroll in a couple times so I know exactly what my 20-foot scale looks like. So here's my first waypoint I dropped right here. I'm about 20, 30 feet away from it right now. And you can see there's no rock off my right side, right? So now I'm perfectly in line with the wind in that waypoint. I'm locking down. So as the boat spins here and the rock bar is all behind me, you're not gonna see any rock to my left or my right. That's because it's all behind me, right? So as I was driving here, right over here, you can see that that's where all that rock was. So I know I'm right on the edge of basically that rock spine, and everything right behind the boat where I'm gonna be fishing and casting and doing all that stuff is all solid rock, right where we think the fish should be. And we are hooked up. The biggest thing to consistently getting on fish is having a good understanding of where they are and how they're set up. It's great to just go out and catch, a fish, but without knowing how those fish are set up, where they are, and having a good understanding of how you can replicate that pattern, it makes it tough to consistently get on fish. Sonar has made it extremely easy to, and hopefully with this video, you have a little bit better understanding of basically, when you see fish, how to set up on them, how to replicate that pattern, and how to catch a whole bunch more walleyes. Everything I'm doing and showing you guys isn't just for walleye. It works for everything. We could film this video on muskies, anything. You might not be looking for a fish. In that case, you'd be looking for structure. So beautiful Northwoods walleye right there. And we're gonna let that guy go. Thanks for watching.